Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now 2023 and we have a handful of Star Wars shows on the horizon, such as The Bad Batch 2, Mando Season 3, and Star Wars Ahsoka. That's really going to be the very beginning of the Favreau and Filoni universe of the Star Wars franchise. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about Jon and Dave is that basically what they are about to do is that they are going to revise a lot of their plans and really taking elements from Star Wars Legends and how that's going to coexist with the already existing canon material under Disney. Now, a lot of this has to do with really looking at the sequel trilogy and finding avenues to retcon many elements of that, and how it's going to pertain to some of the upcoming Star Wars shows in the works. Now, with that being all done and said, we already know that Bob Iger is really kind of shifting his ways with the roadmap, as opposed to what Bob Chapek was going to do. Basically, Bob Chapek had a plan to strictly focus on shows. Now what Bob Iger wants to do is that he wants both shows and films to work hand in hand, but focusing more on the cinematic side of things, focusing more on movies again, because Disney obviously knows that movies drag in more revenue because of repeat ticket sales, and of course the price of tickets. So that's one thing that Disney is looking at right now, and exactly how they can utilize that. Now, on top of all of this, what's even all the more exciting about what Jon Favreau has in store has a lot to do with the character of Luke, and exactly how he's going to be established in a specific Star Wars project, so let's dive right into all of this. Now, with that being all done and said, with both Disney and Lucasfilm preparing to make major announcements for the Star Wars fans, Favreau and Filoni are getting ready to canonize serious retcons to the lore. Now, it's noted that as of now, Disney is moving forward with reversing Luke Skywalker's death in the Star Wars franchise with the help of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni in an upcoming post-Episode 9 series for the Disney Plus streaming service. Now, this new strategy of bringing Luke back to life and bringing him back for one final fight is said to not involve the world between worlds, but however will involve the power of the wills, who allow Luke to return to the mortal world as flesh and blood, and appearing just as he did in his Force projection form, except alive and well. Now, this is described to be Jon and Dave's attempt at giving both Luke, of course, and Palpatine one final showdown, like in Legends. Palpatine's spirit survived twice. Multiple storyboards have already been created in which the wills bring Luke back to life for a specific reason to end Palpatine once and for all. Now, let me just pause here for a second. Now, the thing about all of this is that this is kind of taking one of the original elements of Episode 9 that J.J. Abrams tried to do, that never worked out, where they wanted a young clone of Palpatine to be basically taken over by the spirit of Sidious after his old body dies off. So basically, they're going to be picking up with all of that in this post-Episode 9 series. Now, Palpatine is not going to be the main villain. This is going to be a one-off end of the actual series experience that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are putting together. And I know a lot of fans are going to heavily criticize this. A lot of fans are tired of Palpatine. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, this is basically Jon and Dave's remedy of kind of course-correcting who ends the Sith once and for all, to an extent, or at least who, at the very minimum, ends Palpatine's reign in the Star Wars franchise, right? And they want to make it with the Skywalkers. About the power of the wills. Now, this is where things get complicated, because we don't really know all that much about the lore when it comes to the wills, and when it comes to the deities or the gods that created the Star Wars universe and the galaxy as a whole. So there's a lot to work with in there, and given that Favreau and Filoni are working out George Lucas's, legacy and his original concepts and ideas about all of that, these new shows that are being developed for, not just Disney Plus, but also new Star Wars movies and how everything is going to work and be interconnected, Jon and Dave want to focus on that. They want to make sure that Star Wars is going to thrive and survive. Now, moving on, of course, though Palpatine won't be the main villain, like I say, of this story, he will be at the end taking control of a young host clone. Now, one of the storyboards involves a revived Luke fighting against Palpatine in a saber duel, then eventually doing what the Wills told him to do to end the Sith, by using a technique to strip Palpatine's spirit out of his dead host body and absorbing it into his own. This ends Luke Skywalker by dragging Palpatine's spirit into the netherworld of the Force and forever killing Sidious. This is said to be in one of Favreau's notes out of 5 other choices that he is deciding on right now for the series. So, granted, this is just 1 out of 5 of the treatments of the post-Episode 9 series and how Luke comes back. And you know what? I kind of like this, and I kind of don't like this at the same exact time. Number one, this is kind of taking a key element from Dark Empire, in which, in Empire's End, there was a Jedi called Brand, who, by the way, I believe was the master of Yaddle. And in Legends, we had the character Brand literally absorb the spirit of Sidious after he exits his old dead body, and literally dies along with the spirit, dragging it into the netherworld. Basically, that's exactly what they are planning to do with Luke, and it kind of makes sense that this would be the reason as to why the Wills would want to bring Luke back to life for a couple of days or a week or so, who knows, and allow Luke to fight Palpatine once more, eventually taking his spirit and becoming one with it, and killing himself, essentially, and combining himself with the netherworld of the Force. The only way to truly destroy the spirit of Sidious. And you know what? I think at the end of the day, it may very well come off as controversial to the fans that they would just bring Luke back after all this time only to kill him off again. I could see how a lot of fans would have a lot of problems with this, especially over bringing Palpatine back again, right? But Jon and Dave are trying to do their best with kind of creating something very dramatic and fun and just entertaining to really revise who ends Palpatine once and for all, who really is responsible for destroying this guy, right? That really created so many problems among the galaxy for decades. So overall, you know, there's a lot of brainstorming happening between Favreau and Filoni. This is just one of 5 scenarios. And to be honest, I would not be all that surprised if this one ends up being the final decision for the post-Episode 9 series of bringing Luke back in action. Again, the power of the Wills. We're going to learn more about this later this year in a couple of books that are being published that's going to go over all about the gods and the deities, you name it. So, there's a lot at hand here. There's a lot at play. There's a lot of consequences that could very well come out of this if they don't play things right or if they don't play their cards correctly. And that's why they're taking a lot of time with this. Again, they want to get this thing out by 2025, 2 years from now, and really get the things rolling. So, anyways, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.